Hey everyone, welcome to our office hours. It's Wednesday, February 23rd. On these office hours, we are live here to answer your startup and entrepreneurial questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat and we will start answering them. Office hours is something that we hold every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central Time here at Codelation. And so any questions you have, any thoughts you have, put them here into our chat. We are coming to you live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube this week. Hoping to add LinkedIn here soon as well. But feel free to jump in, ask some questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Questions that we're able to help out with, everything from just general entrepreneurship questions all the way through to, startup questions, funding questions, whatever you may have, throw them in the chat here and we'll do our best to answer them. And if we don't know, we being me, we will let you know that we don't know. My wife will tell you there's lots that we don't know. So it looks like we got a few people streaming in here. So and again, if you're not familiar with Codelation, we are a custom web and software development company. And we help entrepreneurs and startups take their idea into the marketplace and find their first customers. So that's really where we focus on. We're based out of Fargo, North Dakota. Yesterday was 35 below with wind chill, so terribly cold. So hopefully you're coming in from areas that are nice and warm. So again, any questions, comments, any thoughts, go and throw them in the chat here, and we'll do our best to answer those. Had a friend that I was talking with this week, and we're talking about, why is it so difficult to try to sell their startup into the marketplace? They felt like they had a good solution that they're trying to sell, and it was something that we had found out that the entrepreneur was making a lot of assumptions about what the actual problem was that they're trying to solve, and they found out that they had features or solutions that they're trying to sell them, and they're trying to make some assumptions that they're of value. And so the conversation really ended up with, go back and spend some time talking with your core audience and find out, what is a main problem that they're having, how have they tried to solve it in the past, and why did that work, why didn't it work. So really trying to drill into those problem statements has been extremely beneficial, and it's a difficult one too, because not everybody wants to do that work. It's sometimes difficult to really stay in that space because you get excited about your idea. So all right, we have a question from Facebook comes in. What is your recommended marketing path for an original business idea that doesn't exist in your town? All right, so I would really recommend, identifying your target demographic and where do they live at. It may not be a social media platform. It may not be a particular traditional marketing path, but where do they live at? Where do they congregate at? Is that something that you can go reach them? I'll give an example that we had a client, and he was in the ag tech space, and he had found that actually postcards to farmers worked out really, really well. They actually read the mail, picked it up, versus us just taking the postcards and sales stuff and throwing it away. Like, they're not heavily marketed to, so it was an easy way to reach out to them. Typically the older farming generation doesn't live on socials. They're not, big into the email list sign up. So really find out where your target audience is and go after them. And I happen to know this entrepreneur a little bit, so I can kind of dig into lean into the question a little bit deeper of try to find people that are in your region that are what I would consider hub and spoke. So, if you're going after one end customer that may generate you a couple dollars, but what if you could go after the hub and spoke model? So think of somebody that has a network of your end customers that you wouldn't compete with. So can you come in and really target that network person that is connected to all of your target customers in some way? And again, that may be Facebook, that may be LinkedIn. One of the things we found that works out really good for us is we ask people to come onto our podcast that are having that similar customer base, and being able to share our story a little bit as we have a conversation with them. And usually at the end of the day, it's like, oh, great, there's opportunities for us to work together. And they find out we're not competing. And it's so easy to just, slap a message out there on LinkedIn, or, spam them with an email or something, but find a way to really connect with that hub and spoke model, so that you can gain trust and really be authentic in it. And I think if you can do that and find it as a replicatable process, you'll have a lot more repeatable business happening. So hopefully that helps answer the question there. So yeah, you have other questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat channel here. We did have another question that came in over email today. Somebody emailed me, and they were talking about the concept of, they're trying to target and figure out what unicorns were in the startup world. And it was kind of a strange email, but I'll answer it here for everybody. A unicorn is a privately held company that has been valued at $1 billion or more. And a lot of times startups or entrepreneurs will look at saying, well, if I can't raise money and be privately held. The term privately held just means that you are not publicly traded, so you're not on the NASDAQ or other exchanges. You can still take investor money and still be privately held. It's held by private individuals versus publicly owned, which would be, publicly traded shareholders. So you've got your unicorns that are at $1 billion valuation, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. And then you have the concept of a deca unicorn, I want to say, or something to that effect, which was $10 billion valuation. There are less of those that are privately held, lots of public companies. And then they came up with the concept of, well, let's take this arbitrary number of 12 billion and get rid of the decacorn or the deca unicorn or whatever it was. And now we have dragons. So we have unicorns at $1 billion and dragons at 12 billion. And my understanding is that the dragons were bigger, meaner, nastier, could move faster. They were on fire, versus a unicorn, which was more playful. And they wanted something to really show what a big, aggressive, moving company looks like. So for what's that worth, what that is worth, that's my understanding of unicorns and deca unicorns, decacorns. I can never remember what that one was, and dragons. So if you're just joining us, welcome to our Codelation office hours. And any questions you have about startups or entrepreneurship, put them into the chat here. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now. So feel free to share. I've been fighting a little bit of a sore throat and raspy voice lately, so I apologize for the audio and optics here. And then, of course, I pile on a whole bunch of meetings in the afternoon where I'm talking with a bunch of people and, strategizing and formulating next steps. And by this time of the day, my voice just wants to go out. So maybe I should start taking Wednesdays off and move all my meetings around. Looks like we have a few more people joining here. So again, any questions you have about startups and entrepreneurship, put them in the chat. Be happy to answer them. A lot easier for me to answer those questions than trying to play telethon here with no questions coming in. So certainly jump on in and ask some questions here. I'm just pinging my team on Slack here to see if they can go round up a few people or see if they have any questions coming to them this week through any of our channels. One of the things we're doing at Codelation is our kind of our startup university called the Founder Community. And it's a place where we have entrepreneurs be able to join and kind of have conversations like this, a peer-to-peer network, plus also a curriculum or coursework that they can work through 13 steps of taking their idea into a viable business. So sometimes we got questions that come out of those. And yeah, really just here to help answer anyone's questions, help give feedback, and just make the world a better place, as HBO Silicon Valley says. We had talked a couple weeks ago about some of the books too that we're reading here at Codelation, and I'm getting a little further along into Simon Sinek's what the heck is that book called? I'm spacing on it now. The Infinite Game. Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game. That's a good read if anyone's looking for anything. Another question comes in from Facebook. For a small startup, do you think becoming a member of the local Chamber of Commerce will help boost our business, or not worth the cost at this time? Well, I would weigh that with what the cost looks like. So, what percentage are you willing to put out there in the hopes that something happens? And sometimes, marketing and sales are really just you gotta put the ball in play and see if something hooks. And so sometimes it's worth it. I know like the chamber around here for a small company is a few $100s. I want to say it's less than 500 annually. So you need to just look at it and say, if I put $500 out there because I think that it's going to be a good investment for me, am I going to get a return on it? And if you can answer the question, it doesn't matter if I get a return on it. It's something I'm willing to try. And that $500 or whatever the amount is insignificant, or it's not a big lift. Like you're not going to put all, you're at a poker game and you're pushing all your chips in. You're not doing that. I say it's an okay thing to try. I think it really also depends upon whether it's the chamber or any other group. What are they doing for you? So I know there's some chambers that do a lot for small business, and there are other chambers that are focused, more on the larger employers in town. So I think that would be one thing to take into account is, how friendly are they to small business? And then also, what do you think you're going to get out of it? Like what resources, what networks? Is it something to where if you join the chamber, you're able to then get connected with somebody that you might not otherwise, that's in that hub and spoke thing that I talked about earlier. So yeah, there's lots of factors to think about, but at the end of the day, I like to take a step back a little bit and say, what are we trying to achieve? What's our North Star goal? What are we trying to go after? And maybe the chamber is part of it. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a small business networking group. Maybe it's paid ads in the paper. It could be a number of different things, but sometimes it really helps to take a step back and look at it strategically. A lot of different options that are on the table. Kind of a Queen's Gambit, if anyone's seen that show of being able to see the chess moves, many steps ahead is sometimes what's needed to really get good at marketing and sales. That otherwise, I found myself out there just really throwing stuff against the wall, hoping it sticks without really a strategy, and then you just get defeated and feel beat up because there is everything I'm trying doesn't work. Well, it's like, do you have a strategy? Do you have a plan for how to bring that to fruition? So hopefully that helps a little bit. I think it really, as with every question, I'll probably answer it depends on what the cost is and what you think the return is going to be. Certainly don't want to speak for where you're at either, because here in Fargo, things are different than probably in your area. So definitely worth looking at. All right. So I'll go back into telethon mode a little bit here. We're here with Codelation Office Hours, and if you have startup entrepreneurial questions, go ahead and toss them in the chat. Go ahead and ask them. We're here to help answer those questions, and we come to you live every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central Time on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So go ahead and Dina, if you got any other questions, go ahead and answer. Oh, it's been a day. Go ahead and ask those other questions in our chat here, and we'll be happy to help. And if there's anyone else out there viewing right now, certainly ask your questions. We're here to help. Otherwise, you got to listen to me just kind of blab and fill some dead air. So Pick your poison, I guess. Answer questions, or Josh gonna start telling dad jokes, which we certainly could, but I don't think anyone's gonna be on the upside if I start telling dad jokes. So I was telling you a little bit about the Simon Sinek. Looks like we got a question that just came in from YouTube. So thank you for that. It looks like Nick on YouTube is asking, have you ever had a business that you started up that you were at the time scared if the business was going to come it? Could you clarify that question, Nick? I'm not quite getting the punchline to it. You ever had a business that you started up, you were scared if the business was going to make it? Is that where we're going? I'll answer that, and if we can clarify. Yes, I've had lots of businesses that I've started up that that have not made it. It's scared if the business was going to come in. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a scary place to be. I've built many, 5, I want to say, software startups that we've had various levels of success, but every time that I haven't validated the problem or the need, I've been in that place of being scared and nervous that it's not going to work, and I've got a bunch of money tied up into it, and then you get kind of stuck in the sunk cost kind of paradigm of, I've got all this money into it, I need to keep going for it, I need to keep it going, I need to, if I just do this next thing. And sometimes the best solution is to not just to say this didn't work out. But it's definitely one of those things that I was saying earlier in a question, you want to figure out what that North Star is and really understand what happens if I don't get there. Is my wife, is my partner, is my spouse, whoever it may be, okay with putting this thing to bed? Is it get those questions out there and kind of shine the light on the gremlins. It's a good thing to do as you're going through business, and just have those honest conversations, because there's nothing worse than getting to kind of where you're at the end of your rope and going, I don't know what to do anymore, and it's all on you. I've got I know I brought this up before, but a good book called The Mom Test here. And it does help you when you are at that ideation phase, really understand how to get that feedback from your audience to find out if it's viable or not. And there's a lot of times people are going to say, yes, that's a great idea, and not have the intention of doing it. So the more that you can pre-sell, the more that you can get people in the door early, the better. And what I'm kind of hearing is, if business isn't going well, what do you do? How do you know if you're going to be able to turn that corner? And sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's just push as hard as you can on all angles to get something to break free. And sometimes in business, the only failure is giving up, and sometimes failure is putting money in after putting good money in after bad money, and you maybe should have stopped. So it really depends on your situation. So hopefully I'm not being too doom and gloom here, Nick, and certainly happy to answer any other questions around that. If there's particulars that you'd want to send in, or again, reach out on our Facebook page, or on our website too, if there's particulars that you don't want to have answered on video, we'd certainly be willing to help answer those for you. But that's definitely one of those things that as an entrepreneur, when you're first starting out, like, you don't know what you don't know. And we're even at that point in business to where, like, we've never been where we're currently at. So it's always new air, and you're always trying to figure out what that looks like, what can happen, how do you move forward, are you making the right decisions? One thing I found is just, fortunately, as you grow, if you can just keep the margin in play as you grow, you're able to create more and more profits. You're able to create a little bit more breathing room if something does happen. because things are going to happen. So I just want to make sure you got that safety net there and are really able to weather when storms come through. And again, that kind of goes back to the infant game that I'm reading of are you doing something for a quick kind of cash grab, or is this something that's Evernote 100-year business or something like that? So keep the questions coming. We're here on Codelation Office Hours. We're going live for another 8 minutes on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So feel free to throw your questions in the chat here, and we'll do our best to answer them. And when I say we, I mean Josh here. I will do my best to answer your questions. We got Brian that comes in on Facebook. Says, when you think your solution solves a lot of problems, how would you position the marketing? Target one problem or all? Well, I think the word there is think. So when you think your solution solves a lot of problems, I would step back and say, when I know my solution solves problems, that's when I would start marketing them. And typically it can solve a lot of problems, but you want to solve the most painful, the most frequent, the most expensive, whatever the scale is that you're going off of on one of those three axes, you want to solve. You want to solve that one problem and get really, really good at solving that one problem, because that allows you to create transactions to go sell more things. And what's really difficult is if you have, yourself and a co-founder and maybe an employee or two, is you start selling 4 or 5 different things, and now you got to support all this different stuff. What if you just sold one thing and got really good at that one thing and then branched out? Like Bomba socks, for instance, they've been wildly successful. For the longest time, they just sold socks. 1 pair of socks, 2 pair of socks, so on and so on. They most recently just branched out into underwear and t-shirts. This is after I don't know how many millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales they've done. I don't even know the numbers, but it's a huge, huge amount. Or, Harry's razors, they were just razors for the longest time, and they branched out into skincare. So it's like there's a massive market out there if you're solving a painful problem, an expensive problem, a frequent problem. Like if you can solve something that really means something to somebody, you're going to be able to sell that and make money. If you can't do that and it's a convenience, that can also work. I mean, there's $100 million yachts and boats that are for sale, but again, your sales tactics and your market are drastically different. So you want to make sure that that you're solving a problem and start with one, because you can always go to 2 and 3 and 4. But it's really hard when you start with 4 and now you got too many irons in the fire and you're trying to offer too much to too many different people. So hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Got a few minutes left here in office hours, so certainly jump in and throw your questions into the chat. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So go ahead and throw some questions in. I hear the garage door shutting, so we might have some kids running around here in just a minute. And again, Codelation office hours, we hold these every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central Time. So if you aren't able to make it here live, certainly put it on your calendar for next week. And we have another question coming in from Facebook. When do you know when to raise your prices? I would say when you're getting, it depends. So I can put it into context for like Codelation, for instance. So if we're going out there and every time we're pitching a website or an app build or a discovery phase and we're getting yeses 9 out of 10 times, our prices are probably too low. You need to be able to find that balancing act to where, maybe if you sold 5 things, you're making more money than if you sold 10 things. And so it's trying to balance that a little bit and get a feel for where your audience is. And that's also tough too. I know the business that you're in, Dina, that it's tough to know, because I think in your guys' world, when you raise prices and people just don't show up, is that because of the price raise? Is it because the weather's bad outside? There's a lot of factors there. So I would say find a way that you can price test different things and get a feel for Is it too expensive, or are there external factors that really come in play? So got a couple minutes left here on our office hours. And I got a kid tapping me on the shoulder, and I'll have to let her know that I got a couple minutes left before our office hours are up.
So we're gonna take a bath.
Okay, go ahead. All right, we got a guest here at Codelation's office hours. So we've got a few minutes left here. So go ahead and throw your questions in. Again, if you're not able to make it and you're watching this after the fact, join us every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central Time. Every Wednesday afternoon, we're here to help answer your questions about entrepreneurship, startups, and all of those things. So Brian, Nick, Dina, anyone else here that's got any questions, toss one final one into the queue. We'll get it queued up for you. Otherwise, if we don't have any other questions and something comes up, reach out to us on our Facebook page, reach out to our website chat, our website forum, any of those places. We're happy to help. LinkedIn, wherever you can find Codelation, we're here to help answer those questions and help drive value for the entrepreneurial ecosystem, knowing all the things I wish I knew when I was starting. So we'll give it one more sip of water and a couple more minutes here. I feel like I need a little co-host with a drum machine or something. Brian asked the question, where are we at with your Cliff Notes you talked about? Brian, we're still about in the same spot. We got to get some more videos recorded so we can start posting those about our different videos. So what Brian's talking about is we talked about taking some books here and distilling them down into kind of the 4 or 5 main takeaways or punches from the book. So if you like that, give us a thumbs up in the chat. Let us know that you want to be doing those, and we'll start doing put that on the marketing schedule to start doing some book reviews here. So Brian says it's a great idea. So thank you, Brian, for that. All right, we got a minute left here. So any final questions, toss them in. If we don't have any questions coming in here, we'll look to wind her down, and we'll be seeing everybody next Wednesday at 4:30. Bring a friend, bring 2 questions, ask them all. We're here to answer them. So coming from Codelation headquarters here, or I guess my house, not Codelation headquarters, we're going to be signing off for this week's office hours, and we will see you next Wednesday at 4:30 Central Time. All right. Thanks, Internet.